Welcome back to Viewer Discretion. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, David Dennis Jr., to talk about our favorite TV shows. This is the final season recap of Alien Earth.
Yeah.
It's over. Next week, Love is Blind returns. Love is Kimes fans. We'll be back. We're going to keep talking about Task, but this week is about Alien. I wanted to give us time to talk about both the finale, the series, how we felt about it, how they're setting up for future series. This episode was called The Real Monsters. A little on the nose, if you ask me.
Yes. You remember Our Real Monsters from Nickelodeon?
I do remember Our Real Monsters. Yeah. That was kind of right when I was aging out at Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
A lot to get into here, but what's your general feel? Like, coming out of the finale, they're playing, obviously we'll talk about the ending, Pearl Jam. I'd rather be with an animal. I had to look it up, which again is also a little on the nose.
I thought Bill Simmons was going to start talking after the show was over.
But first, Pearl Jam.
But last, Pearl Jam. Like, what was your general, like, energy, excitement, satisfaction level coming out of the finale all in all?
I thought it was okay. I thought it was like, okay. It did not really move me about what's gonna happen in season 2 in the way that I kind of thought it would. From what I'd learned is that they were talking about this as like a Game of Thrones-esque type of vision that they have. Like, this will be multiple seasons. It'll be, and like they set up players and different pieces on the board, but it really comes down to what you've been saying for the longest for me, is that Boy Kavalier just isn't working. It's just not working. I think that is a central issue with the show.
In particular, in this episode, I am to believe that this idiot somehow became one of the 5 trillionaires ruling the earth when he's skipping around knowing that a xenomorph is on the loose. All right, I'm getting ahead of myself. But yes, I'm right there with you. I think the lack of a terrifying villain is a big problem in a show that's supposed to be a horror show.
Yes.
It's a horror. It's sci-fi horror. And also, because the xenomorph is now controlled by Marcy, you're not scared of it.
Yes, right.
So they're taking it. You don't have to scare a human, and you don't have the aliens aren't as scary. They're kind of like, ooh, that's gross. But like,
right.
There's not, in like the Maginot episode was 5, right? The standalone episode. You're terrified because the thing's running around killing people.
Yes.
You don't,
unless you are a moderately speedy woman who can get past it.
Okay, let's get into this episode in order. So we're picking up after last week. It left off with Marcy and Nibs on the boat. She rips out the dude's jaw. She gets mad at her brother for shooting them. So we're picking up the pieces of that. What happened there? The failed escape. We see dead Arthur on the beach. Xeno walks up on him. The Xeno is the one that Marcy controls.
Who can I'm having trouble here with where everything is on the island. To go back to Game of Thrones. You remember when Game of Thrones, they were like, we're going to write a TV show now, past the books. And all of a sudden people were zipping by. And the Xenomorph is on the coast at one point. Then he's back. He just moves with a way across that island that I need a map of how far everything is from each other on that island.
It's a good point. It feels like every other scene, he or she's just there.
Right, yeah.
There's a bizarre scene where, again, amidst total meltdown, everybody knows that aliens are loose.
Yeah.
Chaos is happening. Sylvia's like, cool, I'm going to leave flowers at the gravesite of the children. Wearing my best anthropology wardrobe.
Yes.
Dressed like a first grade art teacher. The xenomorph. It is kind of funny when the xenomorph comes behind her. The thing about Alien is if they ever shoot someone from behind, you know that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And she turns around, freaks out, gets shot and not, taken down. Kavalier is walking around. He finds out the comms are down because Yutani's jammed them. His assistant is saying we should evacuate. He's still in his room with Tia Celis. And then finally we get all the Lost Boys. The hybrids are all in some sort of cage. All of them are there, right? It's Marcy, Nibs, Curly, Slightly, and Smee. I want to talk about this scene briefly. So this is the setup of the episode where everyone's kind of picking up the pieces. Hermit and Morrow in a separate cage, which is interesting. So Marcy's real talkative now, and she's basically kind of fomenting revolt, and she tells the other hybrids like kind of what happened in Peter Pan, which is Wendy was Peter's favorite, and then she grew up, and that made Peter mad. And they ask if she's afraid, and she says they should be afraid of us, and she clicks at the Xeno. Okay.
Yes.
So I just want to hit pause here. Do they... Does Kavalier and Kirsch, are they unaware of how strong and terrifying the hybrids are? Like, they've seen Wendy...
Yes.
Manipulate this is
from miles, from like hundreds of miles away, like, and they
can like hack into the system.
Yeah, not a well thought out plan from anybody here. Like, I think there's so much incompetence in this season that I'm wondering if that is a central commentary of the show. Is that like we're just in a world where there's ChatGPT and there's people who are not like thinking or reading or understanding things, even though everybody has a understanding of how Peter Pan, the original book, worked. But like, nope, maybe, I don't know, because there's just so much level of, why are you putting them in a jail cell with a screen of like all of the security happenings around them that they can just manipulate and flip through the channels? It did not make any sense.
Why are they not imprisoned separately?
Yeah.
Why are they not in like chains? I think, okay, so to your point about like it feels like it's part of the show, I think the incompetence, sometimes it works. Like when it's children, it's very believable that they would not have a good plan. And I think that with Kavalier, with Boy Kavalier, the boy genius, a big theme and important message in the show is him underestimating the actual humanity of the hybrids he creates. And this was one of the, I want to talk about this in more detail at the end, but like, a big animating question was, what are these things? Are they humans? Are they not? Ultimately, his inability to understand that they are capable of human decisions and their own beliefs about morality and whatever, that I think is a believable send up or commentary on like what a tech billionaire would fail to see.
Yes.
Like, I find it completely believable that he would fail to anticipate an insurrection because it's not what he programmed.
Right.
I don't find it believable, however, that he would just like put them in an open cage with screens, knowing that this, I mean, if they really, I feel like this is a writing mistake because they could have made it so that Kavalier and his assistant, Adam or whatever, didn't know that Wendy was capable of that.
Right. Yes.
But they showed us watching her do it like multiple times.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. Like if he underestimates their humanity, then that would also probably mean that he has an accurate understanding of their like technology.
Yes.
Right. Like he sees them as tech. Right. And so he would know what they're capable of doing as tech. And like if there's a thing where it's like he underestimated the power of friendship, like like there's that, you know what I'm saying?
You can
like,
make a case for it thematically in writing, but
yes. But this is just him underestimating exactly what he created them to. Like you remember, like he sent them onto the ship, onto the Maginot, because he was like, they can like survive this, right? Like he has an understanding of their power level, and anybody with that understanding would know that we can't just put them in a jail cell like they're, robbed a bank or something.
And then walk up on them and then skip. I mean, whatever, we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, I think that's what really bothered me about this construct, because it just didn't logically follow.
Yeah.
She's sitting there watching and controlling all these screens. Like there's one shot where like the soldiers are looking for the xenomorph and they're in an elevator and she initiates a self-destruct sequence and cancels it.
Yeah.
That was okay. I have a question about that was odd.
Yeah, I couldn't tell because Shmi was doing the countdown. Like it was, I didn't know if they were all doing it. I don't know who was doing it, right? But it was a very weird, it's because it was just like they're just omnipotent power over this thing that sort of, we understood it, but like somebody else should have understood it also.
There was an interesting interaction between her and Smee, who this far has been like the most childlike of the hybrids, where she's watching her brother. As I mentioned, Morrow and Hermit are in a separate cage, and Smee asks if she's mad at Hermit, and she said he shot Nibs, and Smee is like, yeah, she killed someone.
Right.
And she's like, well, he chose them, and Smee's like, what do you like? So I wanted to hit pause there because something you and I've talked about is the show is very much like Marcy's the main character, and it's very much about like who Marcy's development into what she becomes. I found in this moment it very hard to side with her.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's something the show has been exploring, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you on? Because from the beginning, you're like, oh, this is a pure, like, loving girl, but her weird childlike view of morality, which she expands upon later in the episode. In that moment where Smee is just, who's like a child, is like, what are you, like an idiot? Like, she killed a dude with her bare hands.
Right.
I was watching that thinking like, this is I don't feel like and it's interesting, David, right? Because Ripley from the the earlier Alien, you're always on her side.
Yes.
You're never not on her side.
Yeah.
They did something different here with their main character, and I think this is deliberate. I'm not saying that like they complicated her morality and then they put her in cahoots with the alien.
Mm.
Do you feel like that was effective? Do you think that was an interesting decision? Like, how did you? And how did you feel watching that exchange? Because I was watching that thinking like, she makes no sense.
Well, she doesn't make sense in the fact that it doesn't feel like a 12-year-old. You know what I'm saying? Like, it does. Like, I can understand if it was like, it's hard to, like, she's a 12, she's figuring this thing out, she's flip-flopping and is irrational and erratic and things like that. But it's also like a 12-year. It doesn't feel true to a 12-year-old. As somebody with like a 12-year-old in the home, like there's just like, oh, this is kind of. This is how a 12-year-old brain works. You did something irrational, or you said something, but it doesn't feel true to that. Like, I can't put it on her being 12. It just feels like a character that at one moment feels like they're making adult decisions, and then it's just contradictory. And I don't really get a sense. And I think this is what we talked about last week, get a sense of where she's going with all this, and I'm not sure. And it's hard to grab a hold of.
When we're recapping Task, the point of the show is Task is it's a show. Ultimately, somebody is going to lose, maybe both, right? Yeah. It's about an FBI agent looking for a criminal. They can't both win.
Yeah.
And the show, which I think what's working and why it's so good, is it genuinely makes you root for both of them.
Yeah.
And that complicates things, right? And that's something, like from a TV doesn't have to be so simple, like you have to have somebody to root for, and these are the bad guys and whatnot. I think what's so interesting and the times unsatisfying about this show is by the end, I really don't know who we're supposed to be rooting for. I mean, and again, and I think that's on purpose, but I don't know if it works quite well. I don't know. I found her kind of annoying by the end of this.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, to go very lowbrow, to go like in wrestling, like there's a reason they don't put two bad guys against each other, because you want to root for somebody. They put two good guys against each other for who you want to root for more. But here we have on two opposing sides, Marcy, who I don't feel connected to enough to root for, and Boy Kavalier, who I don't feel hateful enough to root against, right? So you have two middle of the ground characters, which Alien, as we know, sort of traffics in this ambiguity, right? But their ambiguity is a lot about who's loyal to who's got ulterior motives, who's, what are the actual plans here. Alien Earth, we kind of don't have that anymore. We kind of know what their plans are, and it's more of a moral ambiguity, because I don't really know where, I don't really know where their flags are planted. I don't know who to root for. I don't really want to root for hardly anybody except for Tia Stellis. But that's but even towards the end, we'll talk about him too, like her too. But like the ambiguity does not work for this in the way that it works for other Alien movies.
I think that's well said. And there are moments where I felt like I was being pulled in a little bit in one direction, but by the end, I just truly didn't know. I didn't know what I wanted to happen. Like, there's a world in which the way it ended, I'll get to the way it ended in more detail, but it ultimately ends with like the kids have the power, right?
Yeah,
and she's got the xenomorph on their side and they're playing the music. There's a world in which that's cool.
Yeah. And
you're like, wow, they got away, the kids escaped, and these evil billionaires. Like, I almost felt like the way they played it with the music, and you're supposed to think it's cool.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I wasn't.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe Yotani can come in. Like, maybe that's gonna be, like somebody I can root for or something. I don't know. But even at the end, like, we're skipping. Like, but Boy Kavalier getting kicked at the end, I think is supposed to feel, like gratifying, and it didn't. It didn't really feel. I didn't really feel anything. I didn't really feel like getting a comeuppance at the end of the season.
Because they just didn't build enough with him for me to really want him to get it. Yeah, Wendy gives that big speech, just staying on the topic of her and her morality and her evolution, where she says, you know why I like the aliens? They're honest.
Mm-hmm.
And Nibs, or her brother's like, we're food to them. And she says, you know, I'm not a child. I'm not a grown-up. I'm not Marcy. I'm Wendy. And it's complicated is what powerless people say to make themselves feel better about doing nothing. Okay, like I understand this series, like her going through kind of puberty and like becoming an adult and coming to terms with trying to figure out identity is complicated, and it's sort of, but I didn't feel that it was enough as an animating factor for the whole series. And then, like you said, it also felt like there were weirdly moments where she seemed way older.
Yeah.
Where she was like, oh, I've got someone special hunting him. Like there were moments where she seemed kind of evil.
Yeah.
And also her view of morality is not defensible to me because it's one thing for her to side with the aliens versus the, you know, Boy Kavalier and whatnot. But she was like siding with them, killing random security guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Marcy character didn't work for me by the end, I think is where I'm coming down.
It feels like there's almost a resistance in the writing process of where Marcy was going to where they wanted her to end up at the end of the season, right? I think, like, when I think about, what is it, Dark Knight, the last Batman movie, right? And you have Bane there, and I think one of the things that movie suffered from is about like 3/4 into the movie, they were like, Bane is making all the good points, you know, like, and Batman seems like the worst dude, and we have to like turn this back into a Batman movie where Batman has to save the day, right? Even though the movie logically was not really heading in that direction, right? And it feels as though Marcy was heading in a direction to where at the end of this movie, she is sort of this maniacal teenager kid whose brain is not fully functioning. She just lets these xenomorphs go crazy. She's angry at everybody, and she's actually like an evil person at the end of the season. And there seemed to be like a resistance to that.
Totally. Yeah. It was like halfway there, but not really there. Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, I think that's what, but again, like they were clearly making deliberate choices, like having Smee be logical.
Right.
Or having Hermit say, you're like, you know, the show is not selling to us that she's right.
Right.
That she's correct in siding with the xenomorph, that she's, I mean, the other thing that's happened is she's essentially weaponized the xenomorph the way Kavalier weaponized her. And so like I think the show is very intentional about us not feeling great about her and her decisions. Like they're not, but it was kind of muddled. Like on one hand, it felt like they wanted us to feel mixed feelings about her and her decisions, and they wanted the other characters to question her. But then on the other hand, they're playing Pearl Jam while she's like starting the insurrection. So I guess I just didn't know, you know, it's yeah, I mean, okay, we'll get to what it all means later, but let's get back to the revolt. So she, after just kind of like playing with her food for a little bit, decides, all right, cool, I'm going to open all the doors.
Yeah.
The thing we knew she could do.
Right.
So everybody's out. Morrow absolutely beans the guard and then says he's going to burn the place down. He gets the metal, they put like a metal thing on his cyborg arm. It only occurred to me, I'm so embarrassed that it took this long to realize that like this is a show about Peter Pan and they made him Captain Hook. I didn't.
There you go. There you go.
I was like watching with the arm. I was like, all right, he's Captain Hook.
There you go.
But unlike Captain Hook, he's not really the villain of the show at all, and they make you like him. So,
is T.S. Ellis Tinkerbell in this movie? This is like, who's Tinkerbell?
Maybe. Let's do if Kavalier is Peter Pan, but then he's not really Peter Pan in some ways. I think he kind of is though, because like the actual story about Peter Pan, Peter's kind of like messed up. For those who don't know the story, it's like about, you know, like a little boy doesn't grow up and he falls in love, or he brings these children, Wendy and the Lost Boys and Wendy and her siblings, to come live with him, and then he gets mad when they want to leave, right, and become adults. And that's Wendy they talk about this in the show. Marcy talks about it in the show. And Tinkerbell is like his little jealous. I think Kirsch would be Tinkerbell actually in that metaphor.
Maybe, yeah. He's always hanging around. Yeah, I got you.
Before all of the hybrids cut loose and start killing people, we get a showdown between Morrow and Kirsch. Morrow escapes. He sneaks up on Kirsch. He breaks his back and goo falls out.
Yeah.
They, of course, it's prestige TV, so while they're fighting, they have to have an elaborate metaphor discussed. They talk about John Henry and like man versus machine, and how man wins because of his willpower. And then I think Kirsch asks, didn't Henry die? Or no, Morrow asks because of exhaustion, right? At the end. And he's distracted by the xenomorph, and then Kirsch sleeps him. What did you think of this as the final showdown between these two guys?
It didn't feel like, when I saw it, I was like, okay, here we go. And then it happened. I was like, they're setting up, there's another showdown coming, right? Like this felt like another sort of preamble to whatever plan they have. Season 3, season 4, whatever they have, like an actual final thing between these two dudes. This felt like a nice little teaser to sort of get us there.
One thing I found interesting about the whole John Henry speech is the characterization of Morrow as human.
Yes.
Because he's a cyborg. Kirsch is entirely synthetic, right? He's the older model. And we've discussed like Morrow is kind of like wrestling with his humanity and whatnot. And I think like their little back and forth was kind of like a very much like what is the, like, essentially, does Morrow just want this more?
Yeah.
Because he's a human. I don't know. I found that, and he's the guy who's kind of like, as we, the show is like, who's human, who's not. I think it was an interesting decision for them to kind of lean into that and put those two in contrast to each other. So, all right, moving on. So then everybody gets out. Before everybody gets out, Kavalier, this is actually before then, Kirsch was like, a definition of severe ADHD is impulse control problems. Kavalier,
right?
They're talking about I mean,
didn't see that coming. Okay.
They're talking about what they'll do with Tia Sellis. Kavalier says he thinks he'll feed you to someone weak.
Yeah.
So, this is before I was kind of bouncing around a little bit. This is before Wendy starts the revolt begins.
Yeah.
Again, he just walks up on the cage. Oh, cool. My super strong, super smart hybrids who have the ability to manipulate the technology and security in my own. No, it's cool. I'm fine. I'm just gonna, a million people have told me to evacuate. Whatever. There's aliens running around. No big deal. Yeah. I'm just gonna wear a bulletproof vest and walk up on them. All right.
And there's no character logic behind it. Like the hubris, yes, he has hubris and all this stuff, and he's cocky, but still does not excuse that. There's just no reason for him to have done that.
The reason is we get a little exposition. He tells them about how when he was 6 years old, he had a drunk father and who beat him. So he basically built his first synth when he was 6 to kill his dad. The hybrids say, we don't belong to you. And he says, I run $1 trillion business and you're floor models. And then they decide to just, and Wendy's just like, cool, you're going to die now. Right. They kill the guard and she says to him, run. The whole thing for me is just undermined by how stupid it is that he's there in the first place. I mean, like, his backstory is interesting.
Yeah.
But David, like, I mean, the whole time I'm just thinking, why is he here? This doesn't make sense. Why is he exposing himself?
I didn't find the backstory. Here's the problem with the backstory. There's no way I can believe that this dude built a synth at 6. You know what I'm saying? There's a different, okay, I get it. There can be geniuses who are quirky and social. Like, I just don't see the genius in, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't see anything in him. Sure, maybe he can build these other things and whatever. But at the same time, there's a difference between like sort of being able to build stuff and becoming a trillionaire or whatever, a billion, you know what I'm saying? Like becoming a millionaire, even like there's like to be the head of that empire. Cause there's a guy who could build that, right? Who works for the trillionaire, right? But the guy who's 6 years old and does this, I just don't see that in Boy Kavalier. Like I never saw Boy Genius except for the fact they said this is a Boy Genius the whole time. And I just don't see those two worlds existing.
So the only defense I'll really mount of just him and the characterization and execution in this episode is it's much closer to reality than if he was super competent. Did you see the demo, like the AI Mark Zuckerberg demo going around? this week. He was at like some conference and they were trying to advertise like some AI and it just kept malfunctioning. And he was like, oh, the Wi-Fi is not working. An incredible clip, honestly. I do feel like, Aliens very much about like capitalism and techno oligarchs and whatnot. It is in some ways more believable that this is how one of these dudes would act.
Well, here's
unbelievably incompetent and conceited in this scenario.
But here's the thing, and I don't want to get too much into, but Zuckerberg is not like the nuts and bolts genius. You know what I'm saying? Like he came up with a thing, right?
Yeah.
But he's not the guy who's like building out the, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. Like I just think,
I hear you.
You know what I'm saying? I just think that those are like Lex Luthor, genius. We get it. Yes. But an absolute loser. Like we saw the genius and we know he's a loser. Boy Kavalier, don't feel genius, and still feel like a loser. Like I didn't buy it.
Yes. He sure owns a lot of deconstructed cardigans. So
yes.
I think they had to go in one direction, either make him really, really scary or really, really smart. And it didn't feel like
either one. Yes. Yeah.
And it's like a show, don't tell. Like they're just telling us he's a genius. His name is Boy Genius. But we don't like. I didn't see him. Here's the thing. Like I didn't need to see him. I'll feed you to someone weak. Show me him.
Yeah.
You want me scared?
Yeah.
Show me this dude, this evil guy, grabbing some poor janitor or something and feeding him to a cellist and watching dead-eyed. Yeah. That would have been scary and awful.
Yeah.
Like we just didn't see, like they didn't make us feel.
Yeah, and even like when him and Yutani had that meeting. He didn't like totally outsmart her. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just kind of was like, he was just a jerk. He was just a jerk. There wasn't a moment where I felt, because also you got to stand to reason at some point you're going to be a genius at something. And at no point in this season was he a genius at anything. He wanted to send the ship down to, to land in his area. He FaceTimed the guy, the guy on the plane to make it happen, or on the ship to make it happen. Like there was nothing in here that I was like, he's a step ahead.
Unstoppable plan.
Yeah, he doesn't have an override button for these people. Like there's nothing that like.
I know they should. That would have been nothing. Like what if? Oh, he's coming, and we're wondering why is he exposing himself, and it turns out that's a hologram, and he wasn't there. He's not been there for a week. It feels like there's things they could have done to make it scarier. Because you're just not scared.
Yeah.
But okay, so the hybrids get cut loose and they go crazy. Wendy says Marcy says no one touches my brother, but she gives them all their marching orders. So we see Nibs walking up on. She's scary.
Nibs is. Yeah, give her give her Boy Kavalier stuff because she's actual terrifying villain.
What is it about redheads, man?
They can rip your jaw apart at any time. Who knows?
They just have an extra element of fear. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. It just feels like they're capable of anything.
Get them off the streets. Who knows if they're capable?
I'm just saying, when I see a redheaded child, part of me is like, what's going to happen here? Okay. So she walks up and does a creepy smile. I mean, she's been creepy the whole series.
We should have known that Steven from Love is Blind was
suing the show, I saw. Right. Slightly and Smee. This is an interesting one, actually. They walk up on Kirsch and Morrow. They walk up. Kirsch has beaten Morrow, right, in the fight. They walk up on Kirsch. He says, tie up Morrow. And they tie him up instead. Yeah. And then Morrow tells Slightly he didn't mean to hurt your mom. And Slightly, boom, brains him. Do want to take a moment to acknowledge the kids getting, because this actually did feel like a get back. Like you and I were like, oh, where's the get back? Like him braining Morrow actually felt like a get back to me, given that he's tortured him. Yeah,
that felt like a moment. That felt like a good moment where, Slightly's having this thing where Morrow's, even though you root for Morrow, it's kind of like he deserved it and it's fine. But also Morrow kind of went through, like by the end of the season, he's kind of more beat up than anybody else. And he's kind of the guy who's, semi-defensible in a lot of the stuff that he was doing. And he's kind of got the black eye and all that stuff and gotten whacked the whole show.
Security comes back to the lab. They go inside again, just completely unafraid of rampant aliens running around. We see that giant all season long, that like plant that hangs down has been quiet. And the second that thing showed up on screen in this scene, I knew we were going to finally find out.
Yeah.
It drops down and kills one of the soldiers, the woman from the beginning. It kind of like sucks her up and then you see blood coming out. It's pretty gross.
Like, I don't know if this is like a Little Shop of Horrors prequel also, because he just like kind of eats her and sucks her up and does it. Yeah.
It you know, if you ever drink boba, it looked like me trying to like suck up a boba through a straw.
Keep going, dude.
Honestly, if I was Power Ranging the aliens, that one's like,
yeah.
It wasn't that, you know.
But now we have the 5. Now we have all 5.
We have all 5 aliens.
We have all 5.
Xenomorph, Teocellus, Fly Alien, this one, and then what was the 5th one? Oh, the you know, the whatever
leech thing.
Those tick things.
Yeah. Kind of would have wanted from the 5th, like, to get the 5th alien that we don't see until the end. Maybe this is a super duper villain in season 2. Maybe there's more to it, but you kind of were like, you know, thought it would be a little bit more climactic to have the final reveal.
It's interesting because you know, something that does come up again, you know, especially when Hermit's trying to reason with Wendy, is he says we're just food to them. They just are here to feed and kill. And she, you know, when she had in a couple episodes, I think, or maybe one episode ago, where she's like, well, you know, they have their own society or whatever. I kind of, it is interesting how every single one of these aliens does just want to kill.
Just eats and kills. Yeah.
Like, there's an alien who's like, hey, anyone here want to play Wordle?
Right. they're all, maybe they intentionally, that's what they grabbed. These are all sort of like killers. Things that also like absorb people or like get into infest people or something. Like there's something about, maybe there is a thing about like the leech sort of sucks your blood and the TSLS gets in your body and the alien gets in your, like maybe there's some sort of through line to what they were trying to get and why they were trying to get these specific type of aliens for some sort of reason. And maybe TSLS does something that Boy Kavalier is looking for, which is why, but I don't know, but it seems like there may be some sort of through line into why they've got these.
Well, they're all weapons, right? Yeah. And these are all companies, nation states that want power and they want the ability to harness it and control it. Turns out Wendy's the only one who can control them. Yeah, it's believable, to your point, like that they would want these particular aliens. It is. Okay, so TSLS escapes.
Yeah.
And we do get a scene with him or her that I really like this scene.
Yeah.
This was good. So Hermit walks into, when they break out, right? Everybody goes to separate ways. Hermit goes into the room that we saw Kavalier in with the Teocellus, the sheep in the cage, but the cage is open.
Yeah.
And then we see the sheep looking at him. And then I was really impressed when he locked himself in the cage to try to escape. I was like, ooh, that's a good plan. This was a great action sequence. Cellus gets in. He launches himself at Hermit.
Yeah.
Hermit's trying to claw him off. And then Wendy kind of kicks it.
Yeah. The sound effects of TSL like hitting things was incredible.
Adam, the assistant, the creepy high synth, he's a synth assistant, comes up and intervenes and knocks her out. And he says, you know, I knew this was a mistake. If my programming allowed me to say I told you so, I would have told Kavalier. It's an eternity of Are We There Yet? I enjoyed that.
I thought Kavalier had I thought that there was going to be something twisted where Kavalier used his dad's skin on the, you know what I'm saying? I thought this was his dad and some sort of manifestation of his dad.
That would have been good. That would have been cool.
And some sort of thing where he just made his dad or some version of his dad his slave or something like that. This whole I thought that's where we were heading this whole time.
Wendy is like, cool, pause.
Right. Again, did not know how is this possible?
Adam has seen her do this.
Yeah.
I guess it never occurred to him that I don't know. I don't understand why all of these people, having seen her control the technology in this place, wouldn't be on alert for that.
And basically she was like, he's on the Wi-Fi, so I can control him. So great.
It's the one place in the world where Bluetooth actually works.
Right.
Everything's connected. She's just knocking him. Oh yeah, your headphones are connected. Dead.
Right, done.
Okay, so then she freezes him. The eye escapes. Really quick though, I did like this. This was probably, I thought, the best action sequence in the entire finale.
Yes.
the T-Acellus was trying to get into Hermit, and that was, I thought Acellus was going to jump into the hybrid, but he seems to avoid.
Yeah, maybe
hybrids.
You can only get
into
maybe you can only get into into like organic form, dead or alive.
But it was a good fight, and that's actually the moment where we have the Wendy speech that I alluded to there. Okay, so later we see that's kind of the end of T-Acellus, who we later see getting into Arthur's body. Arthur goes,
now
sits up. I mean, that won't last long, but I kind of wanted T-Acellus to get into someone cool.
Yeah, it was a clear wait for season 2 or season, you know what I'm saying? Like wait, that sort of thing. Which a lot of it's hard to, I think it's hard to do when you have a multi-season plan in your head, how to like have some climactic season 1 thing when you have more to do. And there were things like Morrow, the fight, the square off. You kind of wanted that to be a little bit more. You kind of want T-Acellus to get into somebody a little bit more, but they were all teasing to the next thing.
So I have a thought on that. You got me thinking, because we're about to get to the end now. Marcy's turn, if you want to call it that, where by the end we really don't know how to define her morality, and we really don't know if we're on her side, and we don't know, is she controlling the alien, or is perhaps the alien controlling her? Whatever. I think it's funny because we had a similar discussion with the paper. I think part of the reason I was a little bit mixed on it is because it happened in the course of season 1. Yeah. Like typically with a show like this, they would spend the first season making you fall in love with her and becoming like on her side. And then like a season later is when she would start to turn dark.
Yes.
Go full Walt White, right? Like
yes. Yes. Yeah.
But they did it like kind of earlier. Right. And so it was like, am I even on her? Because, I don't feel that sense of like, as a viewer, like moral betrayal and confusion about this character, because she was never defined as someone I was really rooting for to begin with.
Absolutely. That's it. That's exactly. It's just, I don't feel attached enough to her to be harmed or hurt or sad about who she,
or excited
about who she's probably becoming. Yeah.
So this sets up the ending. Boy Kavalier, his body man is dead, but he's just skipping. He's got a bulletproof vest, so he's fine. We hear her saying at some point, I got someone special hunting him. He's trying to get to his escape pad, and he runs into good old Xenomorph. So, and like you said, he gets kicked.
Yeah, right.
Kirsch, Kavalier, Sylvia, Morrow are all put in the same cage where the kids were. Marcy's, talking real chessy to them. She says, you put 6 children in the ground. You're not Peter Pan. You were never a boy. You've always been a mean, angry little man. So again, we have talked about kind of like, are we on her side? Because all the hybrids are outside. They're in control. They have the power. Camera pans out. We see the Yutani ships flying in, which is interesting. The camera pans out, and we see Xenomorph and the baby Xenomorph.
So we're going to have 2 Xenomorphs.
Count them. I think Hermit's like, what do we do now?
Yeah.
She says, now we rule. And then Pearl Jam kicks in. Okay. So when I think back to like the very beginning of the series and the questions they asked, I think what I want to discuss with you here is whether or not the show deviated from the questions posed at the beginning into something else altogether. Because it felt like the first few episodes, they were very much setting up this question of, is doing this moral, which is turning these children into these things, and what does it mean to be human? Right. Who's human? What is humanity? We get a version of that in the end with her, right? Like you could argue that the show did answer that question, maybe just not in the way we expected.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Well, first I felt, again, going to Marcy's, one of the conversations about the show is like the hierarchy and the class thing, right? And I can't get over the fact that Marcy has unleashed the Xenomorph to murder everybody except for important people.
Yes.
Like Boy Kavalier is alive. All of these people who are maintaining the same hierarchy have been captured, pretty humanely captured in this thing, and she has spent the last 2 episodes gruesomely murdering everybody she wants, and making excuses or like accepting that Nibs is ripping apart people's faces who are foot soldiers, who are people who are just trying to get jobs, who we've seen their humanity. They're just like, we just want to pay, like,
gig economy.
Right. Just want to pay for whatever we can pay for. And she is like, why is Boy Kavalier alive? Like, why are people alive when you have been so
really good point.
Okay just murdering folks this whole time?
I guess the argument that the show is making is humanity does not equal morality, right?
Yeah.
Like, because what we've seen with all these children by the end is that they're no longer children.
Right. Yes.
This is this is the story of Peter Pan, right? Mm-hmm. Where the Wendy and her siblings go back,
right,
and they become adults and they grow up. They all, they get the revenge. They develop independence. They and Marcy is kind of the biggest example of, like, she's just very clearly not a child at the end. So again, if the setup of the show was sort of like, okay, there's these hybrids and they have children's minds, but they're in these like superhuman technological bodies. What is that? How does that play out? Well, it played out. It played out in a way that is, as a viewer, not entirely gratifying because it doesn't feel good, but I think the show can make a case for why they did it that way.
Yeah.
I just think as a viewer, it's hard because it doesn't feel like we have anything to hold on to at the end.
Yeah.
Like, who are we rooting for here, right? It's hard to watch a show where you're like, am I really rooting for?
Yeah. And also, not only am I not rooting for anybody, I don't hate anybody totally.
Yes.
Like I don't think, like, I didn't root for anybody in Succession, but like, or maybe Tom, but but he sucked too. Like, everybody's terrible, and a different level of terrible. Everybody here is just kind of in this middle ground in a way that I don't feel either way about them. I didn't find myself at the end of this season worrying about anybody dying.
I wanted Smee and Slightly to survive.
yeah, pretty much. And Smee was the kind of guy.
Hermit was sweet.
And all these people around Marcy kind of have these characters where, like, I think Nibs has an arc that has been through this show where now she's actually terrifying. Smee and Nibs, Smee and Slightly, you want them to kind of survive because of what they've been through. But the main person, I don't feel it.
Ultimately, like, the more I think about it, because like the show they played, like, I want to be with an animal at the beginning of the series. It opens with her with Kirsch as a child asking about, like, would you kill something if it was, I think it was like a bug, right, or something at the beginning where they're looking at like some kind of plant or bug, and she says, would you kill it? Well, if he's going to kill other people or whatever. Ultimately, what she decides on is just like pure tribalism.
Yeah.
Right, which is like, you're on my side, cool. You're against us. I don't. You're dead. You're dead. Prepare to die a horrible, violent death. And to your point, like, it's not satisfying in any ways, and it feels pretty crappy, especially, again, like, everybody who dies is just like, right, these foot soldiers, and Kavalier doesn't die, but it's making a point. So I guess I'm giving credit to the show for mounting an argument, and like, all of which to say, I do think it answered some of the questions that it posed in the beginning. I think, but we agree that, like, it doesn't feel great because as viewers, I think, part of the joy of the original Aliens is, like, Ripley, you are so on her side and you want her to kick out, and it's so gratifying when she gets her wins. And this is a tough one. Like, whose side are we on? I don't know. There's still some unanswered questions. The biggest one, I think, is what's in it for the xenomorph.
Yeah. Why the xenomorph Marcy connection? What is that? Like, what are you getting out of this? Why are you beholden to this person when all we've seen is xenomorphs
just kill?
Right. And how is it that you are communicating? It does not seem to be a two-way relationship. It seems like you are totally under her control, which, how did it get from like being in conversation to being totally under her control?
Yeah. The nature of that relationship, like, does it have motivations?
Yeah.
Does it have an end game? Is interesting to me.
And how did she kill the other xenomorph? Like, what was that? What happened behind the warehouse door where she kills the other one? Like, what is that?
That's a great point. Did she actually?
Yeah. Or were
We
they
don't know.
just like, hey, we got to, like,
Yeah.
maybe she's somebody important to the actual entire xenomorph, whatever. Like, let's keep her alive. And I don't know. Like,
I think that's
yeah,
true.
yeah,
Definitely. Because I remember when they did this fight scene and they didn't show it to us, and you and I theorized that the xenomorph was not actually trying to kill her.
yeah,
I think that's what we'll find out.
yeah.
Is that she is a big part of their plans. T.S. Ellis is currently out. He or she is in Arthur's body right
Mhm.
now, but that's obviously the Yutani fleet is about to arrive. So one would think the next season is going to start with some kind of battle, or
Yeah.
we'll see, I guess.
Who is T.S. Ellis's? What's the end game, and who is their main target? Like, who do you want? Like, I'm not actually. We talked about T.S. Ellis and Boy Kavalier, and I think that kind of doesn't feel as gratifying anymore. Like, I don't know, but like, who was the main? Who do you want T.S. Ellis to like invade? Like, is it Yutani? Like, who do we want this thing to like have that they have total control? Maybe there's a thing where T.S. Ellis has been in control of the Alien franchise this whole time as like, in a Yutani body.
I really hope in season 2 we get a new villain.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
If it's not going to be, the xenomorph as the primary villain,
Mm-hmm.
I really want someone to root against in this show.
Yeah.
Who's scary.
Maybe it's Yutani. Maybe Yutani is somehow becomes
They
terrifying.
didn't sell it
Right. Yeah.
early in this one. Overall, I still like this was I really enjoyed this show. Like I was engaged every week. I was never bored.
Yeah.
I think like the visuals were great. Some of the episodes were really good.
Yeah.
I think for me, just like season long, the characters are probably where it fell a little bit short, and that's what I would hope improves in season. I'm going to keep watching the show.
Yeah. When it comes out in 4 years or whenever it comes, season 2 comes out.
See you then.
But I think I was into it. I liked what they like. The first few episodes were absolutely incredible. But probably first 5 or 6 were just really good stuff. They just didn't quite stick the landing, but I think like there's enough there for them to pull it together for something really incredible. And I think, as you said, the characters who are rooting for, and most importantly, who are rooting against, like who is going to keep me up at night after watching this show, I think is going to make or break season 2.
Final power rankings. I don't have my whiteboard because I'm here in Connecticut. But I guess we got to put Marcy on top because she's rolling the show, even if we don't love it. And so number 1, Marcy. Number 2, I wrote the rest of the gang, the Lost Boys, the hybrids, Slightly, Smee, Nibs, Curly, because they all get to do whatever they want now. Number 3, I've got Xenomorph.
Mm-hmm.
Demoted a little bit because it's like
you're a henchman. You're kind of you're a henchman. You're the muscle.
It's not as cool when it's the muscle, by the way.
Yeah, well, because the xenomorph is like chaotic. It's chaos.
Yes,
that's what it's supposed to be, chaotic, and we got stripped of the like unpredictability and the chaos of the show.
It didn't even kill Kavalier. It just Hermit alive on the side with power, but he appropriately looks pretty displeased with the developments and aware of what's going on with his sister. I'll put T.S. Ellis at 5.
Mm-hmm.
The diva is out in the wild.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Arthur's not the best spot. She's demoted because it's kind of a crappy body.
Zombie movie all of a sudden. Yeah.
Okay, and then I'll go Morrow over Kirsch. So Morrow next because Yutani's on their way.
Where's Morrow's daughter? Where is she? When is she going to pop up? That's another question.
He turns around, it's his daughter, but then she turns around, she has TSL's.
There we go.
What would be the funniest possible TSL's landing spot?
Oh, that's a good one. What's
still be able to be pretty funny.
So, yeah.
And then Kavalier at the bottom.
Yeah.
As I do this rankings once again, it is kind of crazy that everyone's still alive. You're like, really?
Yeah.
No one died.
That's what happens when you don't have a xenomorph that's just roaming around eating people. You know, like that's what we were supposed to get in the movie. A xenomorph who just like kills things. And even the little alien at the end, the starfish, killed an irrelevant person. You know, like we're not killing people of importance.
Our season-long review of Alien. Why wouldn't you kill more people?
There you go.
Yeah, look, we'll lock in for the next season for sure, but definitely had its ups and downs.
Yes.
All right. Well, now we move on. Trying to think of a segue from Alien to Love is Blind. T.S. Ellis, how would he do on Love is Blind?
Who would be the best person for T.S. Ellis to
Nick Lachey
take over?
Which of the Alien characters would do best in the pods?
T.S. Ellis.
He doesn't talk.
He just needs a good. I would say probably. I think Smee would be good. Smee would be a good person in there. Just a really earnest, fun-loving dude who won't cheat. Just an honest guy.
I could see Wendy just speaking in like very like, I love animals or whatnot, and then some guy being like, "You sound sexy."
What do you look like? She could just like, but she could see. She could just do a thing and see who's around because nobody's.
Are you in good shape? Do you okay, that's it. All right, we'll be back next week with first 6 episodes of Love is Blind. They drop on Wednesday, but I promise we will keep up on task also in some way. I'll figure that out. And yeah, so see you guys.
We'll just do task. We'll just do 5 minutes of Love is Blind, 5 minutes of task, and then alternate for the whole hour. We're gonna do that.